Apparently, in the Buffalo mass shooting, there was a retired federal agent who was corresponding with the Buffalo shooter in racist forums. So law enforcement has been... I mean, this is the thing about the Democrats. It doesn't matter what the evidence shows. The Democrats will never demonstrate leadership. And when I say the Democrats, I want to make it very clear that I'm talking about the leadership of Joseph Biden, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, Jim Clyburn, and Barack Obama. All right? These are the people I'm talking about, all right? The leaders, the people with power, the people with the money, the people with the positions of authority. I'm not talking about AOC or Bernie Sanders or some good leftist politicians that ran as a Democrat. Talking about the actual National Democratic Party. I think everybody understands this, but sometimes I guess it's useful to explain it. Speaking of AOC, she is going big for socialists in New York. I might need to go to Pittsburgh and figure out what the fuck is going on with the Pittsburgh DSA, because the Pittsburgh DSA started out really strong, and it feels like there's a lot of Jimmy Dore types in it. Then again, I mean, I'd have to ask any of you who are Pittsburghers what's going on there, because it seems like Summer Lee was initially a big part of the Pittsburgh DSA, and then they had some sort of bullshit falling out, and I can't really find out what it's based on. I was delivering in Boston yesterday. I heard a ton of media complaining about gun lobbying, overheard people's phones, radios. Seems people are listening. Yeah. And like, this is ridiculous. I mean, this is absurd. Look at this shit. Look at this shit. As the cops are admitting their malfeasance, their negligence, their incompetence, who throws them a lifeline? I mean, this is who we elected. I mean, this is like he successfully convinced the gulliblest of gullible morons that he was turning over a new leaf. But those of us who were not fucking stupid knew exactly who Biden was. And we fought our asses off against this piece of shit. Anybody who supported Biden over Bernie is a fucking worthless loser. I don't care what your reason is. You suck. You personally suck. And you'll be a lot happier and more mature when you realize that. Or small bean cops who have been through enough watching other people's children die.
Joe Biden has apparently responded to calls for an investigation into the Uvalde police who decided to stand outside of Robb Elementary School as the shooter was gunning down and killing children in cold blood. They stood outside for about an hour with parents begging them to do something. Well, during a recent press conference, apparently the press secretary was asked whether Biden's gonna do anything, right? Asked at the briefing whether Joe Biden would call for an investigation into the police's actions at the shooting,
when the media are like skeptical of cops, when our disgusting corporate right-wing media and even their consciences are roused, when even they can see that there's a problem here, and you say no? This is incredible.
Pierre, the White House press secretary, responded, quote, "The president has the utmost respect for the men and women of law enforcement. We won't prejudge the results from here at this time."
They asked for an investigation, not a judgment. You fucking coward.
And it appears that, he's just gonna stand with the cops who, again, were these giant cowards who were heavily armed and decided to do nothing for an hour. They called for backup. That's it.
Earlier in the show, just about an hour ago, I told you that Joe Biden was going to go to Texas, and I predicted that he would go there and kiss the cops' asses. Well, I was wrong. He did it before he even went to Texas. So the whole country is furious with the cops who cared more about their own safety than saving the lives of those kids. There was an off-duty cop who went and saved some kids because the other cops that were on duty wouldn't do anything. There was a parent, a mom, who the cops arrested because she was trying to get in and save her own kids. Luckily, she got out of the handcuffs. She went in and saved her own kids without any weapons. But the cops, fully armed with incredible military-style weapons, refused to go in. Total and utter cowards. Why? They've been trained to be cowards. Don't ever risk your own life. Who cares about the citizens? Is Joe Biden, of course he wouldn't say 1% of that, but he's going in the opposite direction.
I mean, this is This is the energy of the moment. Listen, none of us here like cops because American police are exactly what everybody is seeing exactly what we know. This is a chance where you have to seize the moment. Joe Biden, the only thing he seizes is the hair of an intern so he can sniff it. The only thing he's seizing is his Alzheimer meds. The guy is a fucking a disgusting mush pile. I can't believe he is president of the United States. My God. And his heir apparent is Pete Buttigieg or Kamala Harris. What is wrong with America? I was on Our Conservative yesterday, and they all were agreeing the cops were cowards. This is the moment where we could actually seize the initiative on police reform. Clearly, they don't know what they're doing. And this geriatric, useless, he's too busy eating his applesauce. Where is Joe Biden? What a fucking loser. They know what they're doing. They're right-wingers. Why would they go against the cops? They're going against... Oh, yeah. You mean Biden? Of course. If you're talking about normal conservative normies, talk about normie conservatives who are not part of the political apparatus and don't have a good feeling of what their views actually are, which is the vast majority of people who vote Republican. This is a moment to change minds. We support the cops, no matter what they do. I mean, can you imagine supporting the police as they cower from a single untrained 18-year-old who bought the gun 3 days ago? How experienced could he be? People were like, oh, you want untrained people to rush in? The guy bought the gun 3 days ago. This isn't a retired Marine. This isn't some fucking sniper. It's an 18-year-old who's only used the gun to shoot his grandmother. What are you talking about? Give us tanks and RPGs so we can crush unarmed protesters. Ooh, we're just a small bean. We couldn't possibly stop an 18-year-old murdering 20 babies. Even Christian Walker was critical of the cops. The cops let our kids die in Uvalde. Instead of chasing down the psychopathic killer, they restricted parents from running in to try to help their babies. I don't think I've ever been so angry. Even these people! Just trying to think of what the most plausible explanation would be. If the explanation really is a large number of heavily armed cops decided to just passively let the mass murder of kids continue without intervening, then the police people were right all along. And they're gonna do nothing! You know what's gonna happen in response to this, chat? Cops are gonna be smarter and more ruthless at oppressing parents and people with cell phones at the next mass shooting. They're not gonna rush in to fight the shooter. They're just going to make it so you can't see that they're hiding.
Cops are awesome. You know why? Because Joe Biden's a goddamn Republican. He's always been a Republican.
He's always been a Republican.
1994, he passed the crime bill, which was get tough on crime, incarcerated millions of people in this country. And he bragged about it his whole life.
Offenses.
In the Democratic primary in 2020, it would have hurt him. So the entire mainstream media never talked about it.
They lied about it, actually.
The reason we need criminal justice reform is because of Joe Biden. And Joe Biden bragged about working with segregationists who hated black people like Strom Thurmond to pass that bill. He's like, oh, me and Strom, even though he was a segregationist, we got along great. I know, Joe, because you're a goddamn Republican. And so a lot of idiots in Washington thought, oh, Joe Biden's gonna help progressives. He's got this progressive agenda. How much of that did he pass? Zero, none, zero.
It was
what did we tell you?
Trojan horse, right?
Yes, of course. What did we tell you? We told you Joe Biden's a goddamn Republican. He doesn't mean any of his agenda. He won't pass any of those things. All he'll pass is pro-corporate bills. What's the one major bill he passed? Other than COVID relief, which the Republicans also did. He passed the infrastructure bill, and a lot of Republicans voted for it. Why? Because it was a corporate pork bill. He did exactly as we predicted overall, and today he did exactly as we predicted. But if you turn the rest of the media, they're like, oh no, yeah, you gotta kiss the cops' asses. You gotta get in there and clean it good, Joe. Oh,
I mean, even the corporate media doesn't want to do that. The corporate media is shocked. Everybody with a conscience is shocked. This is a moment where you could shake people out of their programming because what the cops are, the pedestal they're on, and the reality is exposed for all to see. Are you going to let them climb back up on that pedestal? Or are you going to do something that we all know needs to be done? I've been told by Democrats, well, we want to do these things. They're just not popular. But the moment they're popular, the moment there's an energy, they work to diffuse the energy. I thought we didn't do it because it was unpopular, bro. It looks like you were lying the whole time. And the Senate went on vacation. The United States Senate is on vacation, and they won't be back until June 6th. I have a friend who refuses to admit the cops acted like cowards. His brother is a cop, for context. Listen, we don't need to get 100% of cop bootlickers. Look, I grew up in the South, and these people will just say this is an isolated incident where the cops were negligent. So the ATF was negligent, the FBI was negligent, the Border Patrol was negligent, the local cops were negligent, the Texas Rangers were negligent, because all those agencies were there. It was everything, federal, state, local. They were all there and all cowering. It wasn't just one untrained local force. Give me a break.
Can't believe you said that about the president. You have to respect the president. Why? Why do I have to respect the president? What a weird thing for a reporter to say you have to respect the powerful. No, you're supposed to challenge the powerful. I think Joe Biden is impotent.
They're supposed to challenge the powerful. That's the whole point of their job.
I guarantee you, if they see this clip, everyone in the media would yell at us and not Biden. How dare you say that about the president? You have to kiss his ass while he's kissing the cop's ass. No, I don't. No deal. Joe Biden's a loser. He's a right-winger. He's proven it in every shape and form. You think he's going to pass a single bill to help those kids? I guarantee you right now he isn't. Yeah, I'll tell you ahead of time. Write it down in stone. He's going to go like he did that night. I mourn. So I want to comfort your thoughts, prayers. I'm not going to do anything. He didn't propose a single piece of legislation. He still hasn't done it. He hasn't, and even if he does, it's all theater. They already went home. They're on vacation. Chuck Schumer, the next day, came out and proudly declared, "We are not going to do anything." Because he's scared of the Republicans. Oh, what if they run on, saying the Democrats are going to take the guns away? They're scared of their own shadow, and they all work for the same goddamn donors. Joe Biden is utterly useless. Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it.
But over the shooting, didn't Biden say they should do something? Sure sounds like action to me. Yeah, they should do something. Most of the chuds on my Facebook are just saying that teachers need to be armed. What, so they can all stand around milling around for half an hour? I mean, it doesn't matter. These numbers don't matter, chat. Democrats will never act. Requiring background checks on all gun sales, 88%. Strongly or somewhat support. Creating a national database with info about each gun sale, 75% support. Banning assault-style weapons, 67% support. You think the Democrats will ever fucking do anything? Doesn't matter if everything is hyper popular. It doesn't fucking matter. Mike, have you ever covered this on stream? Yes, of course I have.
For the last few years, I've had this sense that everything I learned as a kid about how America's government works is completely wrong. But I had no idea how bad things actually were until I saw this one graph. Researchers at Princeton University looked at more than 20 years worth of data.
By the way, Sock Dunn Left tried to say that this was wrong because a Manhattan Institute think tank came out with a response to this Princeton University study. Some right-wing think tank came up with a response that ultimately admitted they were right on almost every issue. Fucking worthless. I bought guns online who have to go to a gun shop to pick up, and they do background checks. Yeah. If you do that. I mean the Raytheon Scion? Exactly.
Answer a pretty simple question. Does the government represent the people? Now, this is what they found. This axis here represents public support for any given idea. On the left at 0% are ideas that not a single American wants. On the right at 100% are ideas that everyone supports. This axis represents the likelihood of Congress passing a law that reflects any of these ideas, from a 0 to a 100% chance. On this graph, an ideal republic would look like this. If 50% of the public supports an idea, there's a 50% chance of it becoming law. If 80% of us support something, there's an 80% chance. You get the idea.
I mean, I think that I don't think that's ideal. I think that if a majority supports an idea, it should pass. But I get what they're saying. It's fine. Whatever.
Now, most Americans would probably agree that, with a few exceptions, we should be as close to this ideal as possible. Unfortunately, the way America actually works doesn't even come close. Take an idea that nobody supports, literally nobody, and it has about a 30% chance of becoming federal law. Now, take an incredibly popular idea, the most popular idea this country has ever seen, and there's also about a 30% chance of it becoming law. This means that the number of American voters for or against any idea has no impact on the likelihood that Congress will make it law. Put another way, and I'm just going to quote the Princeton study directly.
What if the majority of people end up supporting a bad idea? Just from that hypothetical, I would be, if it's a bad idea, I would advocate against the bad idea. But ultimately, I am not God. And if a majority of people support an idea, in most circumstances, it should be supported. However, there's some exceptions, and obviously there are principled exceptions that have to do with oppressive rights abuse of a minority. We call this kind of like a realm of politics. You can't vote on whether or not I should live. We shouldn't allow any kind of votes like that, right? But you know, if a majority of people want public transit, we should probably have public transit, right?
Here, the preferences of the average American appear to have only a minuscule, near zero, statistically non-significant impact upon public policy. So if you've ever felt like your opinion doesn't matter and that the government doesn't
when
really...
people get things wrong, typically you can, if you have the information that's showing that it's bad and you have a representative government, there will actually be change to undo that terrible decision.
Care what you think? Well, you're right. But there's a catch. This flat line only accounts for the bottom 90% of income earners in America. Economic elites, business interests, people who can afford lobbyists, they get their own line. Look at how much closer their line is to the ideal. When they want something, the government is much more likely to do it. And when they don't, they have the power to completely block it from happening, no matter how much the rest of the country supports it. They get what they want, and guess who ends up paying for it? We pay for it with the most expensive healthcare in the world. We pay for it with a tax code that's a complete mess. We pay for it with internet that's slower and more expensive, with wasteful spending, a floundering education system, a catastrophic drug war, and 1 in 5 American children born into poverty. Almost every major issue we face as a nation can be traced back to this graph. How does this happen? Well, just follow the money. Right now, it's perfectly legal to buy political influence in America. Here's how it works. Let's say a big bank wants a law that would force taxpayers to bail them out again if they repeat the exact same reckless behavior that crashed the global economy in 2008. Not exactly the most popular idea with the public, and Congress knows that. That should be the end of it. But that's where the money comes in. It's perfectly legal for our bank to hire a team of lobbyists whose entire job is to make sure that the government gives the bank what it wants. Then those lobbyists can track down members of Congress who regulate banks and help raise a ton of money for their re-election campaigns. It's perfectly legal for those lobbyists to offer those same politicians million-dollar jobs at their lobbying firm. Then, those lobbyists can literally write the language of this new bailout law themselves and hand it off to the politician they just buttered up with campaign money and lucrative job offers. And it's perfectly legal for those politicians to take the lobbyist-written language and sneak it through Congress at the last second. So now you've got a law that greatly benefits the banks, and the whole process can start over. This is how a bill becomes a law. A special interest hires some lobbyists, those lobbyists collect campaign contributions, offer jobs, and then write the laws that Congress then passes to help those same special interests. This happens every day on every single issue with politicians of both parties. In the last 5 years alone, the 200 most politically active companies in the United States spent $5.8 billion influencing your government. Those same companies got $4.4 trillion in taxpayer support. And that's trillion, with a T. And that's just the top 200 companies. On investment. Never mind every other special interest, every union, every trade association, and every billionaire. Every single one.
Come on, yeah, the unions really are abusing the power that they have.
One of them can use their money to buy.
This is the centrist both sides shit. You got to be like, union.
Political influence. You know, there's this idea out there that this only became a problem after the Supreme Court's Citizens United decision in 2010. But the data goes back almost 40 years, and the results are clear. Corruption is legal in America. And as long as it is, anyone who can spend money to buy political influence will. The solution here isn't rocket science. Make corruption illegal. We already know Congress won't do it. I mean, one look at this chart will tell you that. What we need is a plan that lets us go around Congress and do what the American people do best: fix this mess ourselves. Well, good news. We have that plan and it's already working. Now that we've got the problem covered, let us show you how to be part of the solution.
Well, they published this 7 years ago, so I don't think I don't think it worked. But still, that's a good point. That's good to show you that, like, wealthy, elite, connected opinion is what matters. You have an obligation to like, comment, and subscribe.